Hello everyone, Trisha, it's me, Jenny. It's time for another not naked video response to Trisha Hershberger's series Naked Truth, where we talk as candidly and as truthfully as possible about the subject of Trisha Hershberger's choosing. Straight out the shower, no makeup, soaking, dripping, absolutely sopping wet hair. First take, one take. Most people choose to do it naked, I choose not to, but either way it's not a sexual thing in any way, shape or form. It's being vulnerable and allowing yourself to express properly, and you know, challenge yourself to be vulnerable and truthful. And this week's subject is probably one of the more controversial of the subjects that we have gone through, and it is Black Lives Matter, and our opinion on those sort of subject. And it's, in terms of racial politics, it's a humongous subject and an incredibly complex one. I've talked about issues relating to this in the past on Naked Truths, and generally there's a couple of things that I want to pinpoint in this video, which I can actually talk about rather than trying to address the whole subject. The first one is police brutality and law enforcement in general and the corruption thereof. I think I talked about it in my video on guns. I am very, very happy to live in a country where police officers don't carry firearms. I feel safer without that level of power. I know that if a situation calls for armed reinforcement, there are armed units, but it's not the standard practice. Similarly, I'm glad that when it comes to things like British soldiers who are trained for combat, they get trained to take down people as a last resort, while, as far as I'm aware, American military officers are trained to shoot to kill if they feel at all vulnerable. And I understand the argument for shoot to kill in that, you know, if you disarm someone they could then come back and hurt you. But there is a truth that all life matters, whether or not it's to do with police force or military or regardless of who it's against. And I do feel safer being in a country where there isn't that power, especially because racism and racial bias does exist. Regardless of what country you're in, we're not at a point where general society, whether it be anywhere around the world, is completely free of that bias. So I feel glad that if there is a racial bias in that level of law enforcement, or law enforcement in general, that obviously shouldn't be there, but everyone is human, and you know, it's if it does exist, there isn't likely in day-to-day society to be a fatality related to that bias. While in America, if there is a bias and there is cause, then there is means, and that's scary to me. Regardless of which race is being affected, although there is obviously a huge amount of statistics pointing to obviously higher fatalities among young black men, young black people in general, it definitely is, there's a higher percentage there, and it speaks to something very deep about the power struggle of that particular group of enforcers and their attitude towards individuals. The other thing that I kind of want to talk about, other than gun control and police forces, is when it comes to the Black Rights Movement, when it comes to social change, I've been meaning to talk about this for a while, but the power that the forceful nature of individuals who have to be brave so that others can live. And this comes with a lot of social issues. It's things like LGBT celebrities and public figures coming out in the past when it was illegal, or it was, you know, if not illegal, incredibly frowned upon. Those people coming out into society so that people could then come out privately in the privacy of their own homes without feeling chastised, without feeling like it was something wrong, because those large people with a huge amount of influence said it first. And I feel like with race issues, there are big people who have said what needs to be said, but I still feel like it is the duty of everyone, regardless of situation, to speak out about an issue. But I feel like more often than not, the discussion happens privately and not enough publicly. And adding to that, there is something to be said for, there's a group of women who were around the 1900s through to the 20th century, called the suffragists. And I'm not talking about the suffragettes, I'm talking about the suffragists. And the reason why they are not known and the reason why they are not praised is because they took non-violent action. And I feel like there is something to be said for public displays of dissatisfaction with society, which it needs to happen on some extent. Like, there is praise to be had for, you know, very impassioned protest, but there is truly something to be said for peaceful protesting, for actual communication and actual voicing opinion without causing violence or inciting violence. And particularly with race issues, because it is such a potentially volatile subject, it needs to be discussed openly and publicly and on every level of society, and it can't be a violent act, even if the acts against it are, even if the subjects being discussed are subjects of violence. The act of discussing it and pushing for change needs to be a peaceful one in order for it to actually be heard. And yeah, when it comes to, again, I'm using suffragists and suffragettes as an analogy here. It is not to do with gender politics. I'm not discussing gender politics. What I'm discussing is protest of peaceful means versus protest of public means. And I do believe that women would have eventually got the vote with the power of the suffragists before the suffragettes came in, because in a way, violence, not all news is good news. Not all public displays are good for a campaign. So, you know, I feel like change needs to be slow and natural and non-violent in order for it to actually be good. The more violence that is ensued, the more one side can yell at another and the less communication actually happens. So yeah, that's my opinion on this subject. I hope I have been clear and not confuse anyone with any of my opinions. It's such a huge volatile subject that I feel like I have the potential to say something very wrong, but I feel like, as I said, it needs to be said on every level. Equality is something that needs to happen, particularly racial equality. It's something that has been ongoing for so long, and change needs to happen. People need to not live in fear regardless of race or ethnicity, and I feel like change does need to happen in terms of where society views others. People need to be open-minded, and I'm saying that that's my opinion, and that is how I feel society needs to progress, and the only way it's going to progress is if everyone actually fights and strives for that opinion. But there we go. Thank you for watching. Feel free to comment. Yet again, I forgot to send in my video to Trisha last week. I've done a Naked Truth every week. There has been a Naked Truth available, and I've sent in to Trisha only about half of them, so I'm sorry. I am desperately tired right now. I need to sleep. But thank you all for watching. Feel free to comment. I will see you guys all next week for another Naked Truth. And those of you who watch my channel, I'll see you all tomorrow for a daily vlog. I'm going away with my sister for the weekend, so I've got a little mini-series up and running. But thank you all for watching. Feel free to comment. Please be civil in the comments. I realise this, as I said, is a very explosive, violent, potentially volatile subject, so please be considerate, but do be honest. Honestly give your opinions on this matter. I'll be interested to read them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys all soon. Bye guys.